Hello, everyone, and happy Friday. It must be Friday because it's 1 o'clock, and we're here with another amazing story of breakthroughs for you. Get ready. It's time for the Breakthrough Show. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Breakthrough Show. I'm your host, Jessica Dugas, and today we are diving into a conversation that promises to shift perspectives. We love to do that here. We are incredibly honored to have a special guest with us. She's a visionary who's mastered the art of intuition and decision making, guiding us through life's myriad choices with grace and wisdom. She's the founder of Sacred Haven Living, and she's here to bring us a powerful message on the relationship of allowing. Do we have a relationship to everyone and everything around us? And how do we step into a space of allowing? It's not always the easiest thing to do. So, without further ado, I'd love to welcome the incredible Carolyn McGee to the show. Here we go. Carolyn, it's been a long time coming.
Oh my gosh, yes. Patience is a virtue that I had to practice while
I
we were
don't
trying to
have that.
schedule this. I work it every single day.
I love it. I love it. I hope you are doing well today, my friend. It's been kind of a um interesting start of the year. How do you feel
Yeah.
about how the start of 2024 has been?
I would say interesting is a really good word for that. I would also throw in challenging.
Mm,
I had a really difficult growth year in 2023, and we'll dive into that a little bit later. It's part of my story. And I was just anticipating January 1st, waiting for it to shift. But,
yeah.
there's that lag of the energy between the years. And
Mm,
I personally believe that, the Chinese New Year, early February, also is like kind of a catalyst for really the next year fully becoming present.
right. I've always felt really aligned with that as well, like more of like the Chinese New Year time. Also how nature is in how that cycle is rather than, but it makes sense because that interesting humans made the actual calendar.
Right.
So there's that. But I would love for you to start out by sharing with everybody a little bit about yourself and how you came into doing the work that you're doing today.
Sure, I would love to. So I am different than the majority of people in that I am highly logical and analytical, and I am also highly intuitive. I have a degree in engineering management. I spent 25 years in corporate America working for manufacturing companies, doing materials management, things that required a lot of analysis, a lot of planning, a lot of logistics. And I was great at it, but I was also miserable at it. I also had a dysfunctional marriage that around the same time that I was realizing that this job was sucking me dry, I also was realizing that if I wanted my kids to know that there is a better way to have a relationship, then I need to leave the one I'm in and start becoming
Mm,
me.
yeah.
And that's what I did. It was life altering for me. It was scary. There's been positives and negatives to the whole journey, just like anything else. But becoming me and modeling for my children and also my ex-husband, that it's safe to be who you are. You don't need to try and
Mm,
force anything.
right.
And, I have come to my ex-husband is my greatest teacher. Without him and the pressure of our relationship, because it's not all him,
Yeah.
it I wouldn't be me. I wouldn't be here to help and support other people. So I have so much gratitude for the entire journey.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like it. And so much of your story, I know why. I always kind of look at a person and I see little things and I'm like, that's why we're connected. But so much of our stories are similar and our ways of thinking, I feel like, are similar, especially with the combination of being sort of analytical and intuitive at the same
Yeah.
time. I remember being in middle school and getting like student of the month or something and getting interviewed for the paper and they were like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I'm like, a singer or a lawyer, like like two completely different things that make no kind of sense at all. I could have been the singing lawyer in hindsight, but but I digress. Um, but do you find that sometimes it might be difficult to sort of have people understand where you're coming from because of the way your mind works? Like, do you feel like misunderstood a lot?
I used to, but I think I've become very clear and transparent that this is who I am. I'll oftentimes say if I do those tests, right brain, left brain tests, I'm like 48-52, 49-51, and they cross back and forth. It really depends on the energy that I'm in. And I have learned over time to be very deliberate about what energy I tap into. Like right now, I am totally in my intuition. I'm following the guidance from my angels and my guides. Where does this conversation need to go in order to best be of service? Now, when I'm doing my taxes, I take a deep breath and I just step right into that logical, analytical, what do I need to do?
Yeah.
I own a dog walking company also. And, I need to be very logical and analytical to be successful in that business because there's a lot of moving parts. I have staff that are depending on me. I have clients that are depending on me. So for me, it's what do I need to do and how do I best utilize all of my energy to be successful and to help other people?
Right. Right. It's such a benefit to have, at least it's been from my perspective, to have those two very different parts of our brains, because it
Mhm.
does allow you to sort of be the chameleon that you almost need to be to
Yeah,
navigate different areas of our work. We can help people, but also, like you said, there's tax time coming. And I think
yeah.
what I love about you, Carolyn, is you really keep it real, because as much as we speak in the spiritual world of kind of, being in the 5D and how everything's great and
Mhm.
wonderful, at the end, like, it's March 1st, rent's due today, so it's like there is that very human aspect of us that has to happen as well, because we live on planet Earth, right?
We do. And funny story, when I was first remembering my intuition and my spiritual connection, I went so far over to the, God's got my back. Everything's taken care of. I don't need to pay attention to when bills are due. And
Yeah.
I got myself into a little bit of trouble. And I'd never had issues like that before because I was so like really crazy on top of it all.
Mm,
And hindsight, I'm cracking myself up because I'm like, whoa, yeah, God does have my back and I'm always provided for. I'm always taken care of, but I have to take the action.
yeah.
If I don't, all of this divine wisdom and all of these brilliant ideas that are flooding into me at all points in time, they're just going to sit there because my little human, needs to take the action.
Yeah. There is a little human that exists in each and every one of us that needs to do something,
It
right?
needs
I
to do
remember,
something.
yeah. I mean, I remember being involved with a church several years ago, and I had they were expanding on a department of the church that I'd had experience in before. But because I wasn't on staff officially, they weren't quick to take my opinion, I guess, my experience or anything for what it was worth. And their response to me kept being like, We're gonna pray about it. We're gonna pray about it. We're gonna
Mhm.
and we're gonna pray about it became like this every single week. It was kept going and going and going. And I kept saying to myself, praying is great. Manifesting is great, but God gives us hands and feet for a reason.
Right.
Like we're
Right.
supposed to do something here. So it's
Yeah. And
interesting with that for sure.
it is, and that's part of the intuitive decision-making process is, am I supposed to just sit with this? Because there are times that you don't act and you just really wait for the right time. And then there's times where you need to act or react very quickly and just trust your gut and make a decision and do something. Uh,
Yes.
so it's really the faith in yourself and the faith in your ability, your body, because that's how we process our intuition and guidance is through this beautiful human body.
Yeah.
Then it's okay. Do I hesitate? It's like just like when you and I first tried it. I think it's 2-ish years now,
Yeah.
and the timing was just wasn't
Yeah.
right. We pushed it, and we could have
Yeah.
forced something, but it
Mhm.
wouldn't have been right. So
Right.
the same thing with taking action. Sometimes you need to delay, and sometimes you just have to have the courage to
Mm.
take that step or to send that email or make a phone call or whatever it is in order to be successful and to make a difference.
Right. Absolutely. We're going to take a super quick break, everybody. And I'm excited when we come back to dive into our topic today, which is the relationships that we have with all of the things and how we can also learn to really be in that space of allowing. So we'll be right back more with Carolyn when we come back.
Breakthroughs are about more than you might think. They're about discovering who you are, digging deep, reaching to the core of your soul. They're about healing yourself, understanding your beliefs, creating a ripple effect. And it's not just those initial moments that matter. It's about using them to bring more joy into our own lives and the lives of others. It's about having fun, letting loose, enjoying every moment life has to offer. It's about finding a safe space. It's about creating connection. Join us each and every day for exclusive programming, special events, and a community to call home, where we invite you to explore, change the way you look at and live your life, and go beyond the breakthrough. So we ask you, are you ready? We'll see you online at thebreakthroughshow.com.
Welcome back to the Breakthrough Show. It is Friday, March 1st, 2024. I can't believe we're in March already. Here we are, though. Really excited to be here with our very special guest today, Carolyn McGee, who is an intuition expert. Among many other things, we found out she's very analytical in the first segment as well. So I'm excited to have you here today to talk about the title of our show, which is The Relationship of Allowing. So maybe you can start out by talking to us about the relationship part of this. What do we need to know about our relationship to all of the things?
Yes, one of my favorite topics. So if you think about energy, it changes form, but it never goes away.
Mm.
And if you think about just simple energetic things, if you rub your hands together, you can feel the energetic at the feeling, the vibration between your hands, that it ebbs and flows. So logically, because that's me, there is a relationship to energy in everything that surrounds us.
Mm.
If you happen to be into crystals, you have a relationship with crystals. They have a certain resonance, they have a certain frequency. You can utilize them for healing, you can utilize them for deepening meditation. That is a relationship. You can utilize things like essential oils. They also have a vibration. Each plant has a different energy that can help support you from everything from having a cough or a cold that you and I are both working through right
Mm.
now,
Yeah.
to, again, deepening your meditation, opening up your third eye. There's so many different aspects of that. There's also nature, nature in her
Right.
purest form. There's things that you hear, that you see. My sacred haven in the Sacred Haven Living came about when I moved to North Carolina, and I realized that my yard is my haven. It was my healing.
Mm.
I had moved during COVID. It was where I could go and be safe and also still connect.
Right.
There's simple things like you can hear the sounds of the birds. It changes your own body vibration. You can lay in the grass and ground. It also can provide, a deeper connection because you're more in your body. We are those humans having this spiritual experience. Feeling the wind on your face, the sun coming down, lighting a candle, whether it's electronic or a flame, it all changes everything. So
Mm.
I invite everybody to just think about what you engage with. What kind of back to going to feng shui for a second.
Yeah.
What brings you joy? What raises your vibration? What gives you anxiety? And
Mm.
making a conscious choice to bring in more or to release. And it may be something as simple as, this isn't right in this spot. I'll tell you a quick story about my
Sure.
cat. When I first got my cat, he is now one of my spirit guides. He did not like this lamp that I had in my bedroom. Now, we're talking about a 9-pound cat that pushed a lead-based Tiffany lamp off a dresser. He was determined.
Oh my gosh.
Smart little bugger.
Sorry, I'm just
Shoulda
having a visual now.
Should have listened to him the first time. After the third time, I'm like, oh, well, this doesn't belong in here. And then, like, well, why not? I'm like, oh, because I bought that lamp with my ex-husband and it's in my bedroom. How am I ever going to create a relationship when I
Mm.
have this negative energy? Because we fought about which lamp to pick. And I mean, not only that, it was like, he's my ex-husband. We don't want that
Yeah.
energy in here. So I moved it into another room and he left it alone.
Wow.
So there's a relationship with everything in our space.
Yeah. I think for some people there might be a disconnect between, especially when we're talking about things, physical
Mhm.
things, and not people. So I think sometimes there's a disconnect between, like, this is just a thing that's here and actually having a relationship with it. Was there a specific moment that felt like you maybe moved from one to the other, or did you always believe that you had this sort of relationship?
So I became aware of this because of my connection to memories. And for me, I have a lot of family heirlooms. I am very blessed with that. But they all have energy attached to them. It's like you could walk in my house and I can tell you, like right now, I'm sitting here over to this side is my great grandfather's desk that he had at his store. And I can tell you a lot of stories around it. I have my grandmother's china cabinet that every time I look at it, I actually feel how excited I was as a kid to go to her house, and she'd go get these little teacups out and these glass plates, and we'd have tea and cookies. So and maybe that will help people to understand. It's like the vibration. It's not just the way it looks. It
Right.
takes on almost a persona through your memory.
Right.
And then there's things like with my cat and that in that lamp, there was a negative association which I couldn't really connect into. And there's other things too, things that we hold on to. I have a picture from my parents' house that I've had for 6 years, and it's been in the attic for 6 years. I don't want to let go of it because it was important to my parents, but it doesn't bring me joy. So there's understanding that a relationship, that energetic connection, and deciding, do you want to raise it up or do you want to release it? And at some point in time, I will release that picture. I'll either give it to my sister or I will sell it because it doesn't bring me joy. It
Mm.
actually gives me anxiety having it in my house.
Yeah.
So it's that level of viewing things just slightly different. And do you feel good when you're with it? Does your heart expand? Because your heart's your most intuitive muscle. So
Mm.
if you bring something to your heart or you think about it and it makes you feel joyful and bigger in a good way, then that's good for you. If you look at something and you feel that sense of constriction or obligation, then maybe it's in the wrong spot, or maybe you really do need to let it go no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's so important to listen to ourselves. And even when we use the word intuition, that word might be more second nature to you and I now. But there's
Mhm.
a lot of people that I know that don't feel connected to that word. But you
Yeah.
mentioned something earlier about the importance of our list of listening to our bodies. And I feel like that's such a huge part of learning to have a relationship with your intuition. What are some of the cues that, as we're talking about, some of these different things that we have relationship with, what kinds of ways does your body tell you something's not right or something's even great here? You could go either way.
Yeah, so for me with not right, I get cold chills and they're like I've been dumped into an ice bath. I mean, they're not just those little shivers that you get on your skin. I get really deep chills. I feel very constricted in my heart. My stomach hurts.
Mm.
So there's like very clear signals of you need to pay attention to this and take it to the next step. One of the things that I've learned about, my body signals and intuition is it's not black or white. It could be a not now. It might
Mm.
be later. It could be a year from now. So you just what feels good, what makes you feel good. On the flip side, if it's good for me, I kind of feel a little bit giddy. When I am deeply connected in relationship with my guides and angels, I get this like glow, almost as if it's not like a hot flash kind of glow or a sick glow, but it's like my entire body feels warm and almost like it's a full energetic hug. It's a
Mm.
very comforting feeling for me. Once I understood what it was, the first time I thought I was getting sick, I went to take my
Mm.
temperature because I didn't know. And then I realized, with the logic piece, I suggest everybody keep a little journal. You don't have
Mm.
to write big, long notes, but after a while, you start to prove yourself right. Make a quick note. I saw this. I felt this. I made this decision. And then look back a few months later and you can see how, ooh, I'm really glad that I didn't do that. Or, yeah, this worked out so well for me. I'm glad I followed my intuition.
Mm. Yeah. I love how you're telling everyone that even something very human like keeping a little journal is a great thing to do, because even like through when we were talking about the fact that both of us have been fighting fighting off something,
Right.
but like when the last when it, for me, like I've had such a long period of not being really well, that it when you're in it, it can be hard to recognize that you're even getting better if it's really, really slow. So I even said to a friend of mine yesterday, I have to start writing these things down so that it can be something I look back on and go, oh, my body was better that day, and oh, I am going less time between coughing, and I am feeling better in these ways. Because when we're in the midst of something, I
Mhm.
think it's very much the same with intuition. You don't maybe not recognize those little subtle things, or even if you do, you might forget about it tomorrow.
Right. Yeah, and that was a huge not learning, a relearning, remembering experience for me last year when I was so ill. I had gotten into life is difficult. Now, that's my mother's mantra and my mother's energy. I had released most of it, but when I was sick, when you're chronically ill or feels like it's chronic, when it's
Yeah.
6 months, and you don't know what the diagnosis is, there's this energy that starts taking over, or can take over. And I noticed that I was, like, I'm tired, I don't feel good, which amplifies it because the more you speak things, the more you bring that on.
Right.
And I remember having it was like an epiphany, and it's kind of ironic. I was doing a load of clothes. So and it was a process for me because bending down, I had problems with fluid around my heart and lungs. So bending over was really challenging for me. Um, And I remember bending down and standing up and using the washer to hold on to and looking up at the serenity prayer. My dad was a recovered alcoholic, and my mom had cross-stitched this big serenity prayer. And I just looked at it and I'm like, oh, I got this. And in that moment, everything shifted for me. And that became my new mantra, whether it was, okay, I need to walk from one end of the house to the other. I need to empty the washer. I need to try and clean the litter box, whatever it was, these things that are part of our human existence. I got this. And I became gentler with myself because I got this. I can do this. And I actually bought myself a little bracelet that says, you got this. So I could remember. It's right here on my wrist. If I forget, if I'm having a challenging day, it's a
Yeah.
good reminder for me.
Yeah. You mentioned little bits and pieces there, or something that had happened to you fairly recently. Like you've come on the other side of a whole issue with your health. Can you tell everybody what happened with that?
Sure. So I moved into my house December of 2020,
Mhm.
and it has a crawl space, which is a very different thing from anybody who's lived up north. You have basements. So I
Right.
wasn't aware of potential pitfalls for that. It was a dirt crawl space, and very damp, and the previous owner had left the door open for all the neighborhood cats. So to say it was gross down there was a big understatement.
Oh my goodness.
So forced hot air. So the furnace, for 40, 50, however many years, had been pushing that damp air into the house. So I had it encapsulated, which means that they come in, they clean it out, they put this special stuff in to prevent dampness. But what the people didn't tell me is that there's mold down there. So for the first 9 months of living in the house, I was breathing in mold spores.
Oh my god.
And for people who don't understand mold, it is highly toxic and causes inflammation, which shows up in different people in different ways. Now, not everybody has a mold issue. It's like an allergy. I happen to be highly sensitive to molds. I ended up with the inflammation. I ended up with a cough, um, fatigue, and getting sick to the point where they took 7 cups of fluid out of my body.
Oh my goodness.
So, yeah. It was a lot, and there was 6 months of they didn't know what was causing it, so I couldn't even root cause engineer. Oh my gosh, what's starting this process, and how do I make sure I eradicate it? Um, and I did eventually, a highly intuitive friend of mine said, "Girl, you got mold." I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna go get tested." And I did.
Yeah.
Like, "Thank you."
Yeah.
And it came back for that, and, there's protocols to help the mold move out of your body, and, I've got an expert coming in about 2 weeks to finish cleaning. During the winter, the mold goes dormant. So, I've got a little bit of time before spring and it gets active again. So I'm doing all of those things. And I was able to, through the process, understand the gift in it. And that's really this relationship of allowing is I couldn't do anything. I mean, literally, I had to hire somebody to come and clean out my cat's litter box.
Yeah. Yeah. It's tough when you're you're humbled, I'll say that, when it gets to where you can't do the simple things that you feel like you
Mhm.
should be able to do. And when we are analytical and maybe a little type A, we'll put that just a little bit. A little bit of control, we like control and things. And things something's happening with our body and it's so far we feel like out of our control.
Yeah.
It's really hard to lean into allowing anything other than allowing yourself to feel bad about yourself in the moment.
Yeah, and have had I have a heart condition also. I was born with a problem with the normal pacemaker. So I've struggled my entire life until I got an external, well, it's internal, but
Mm,
a man-made pacemaker when I was in my 30s. So I've had moments of not feeling good, and I powered my way through it.
yeah.
And this time around, it was so different for me. I mean,
Mm,
I knew that I could push through it, but I also knew if I did that, I was going to possibly make myself more ill because that's when I did when I pushed through and didn't have the pacemaker. It started affecting my liver, it started affecting my adrenals, it started affecting my thyroid. There was all of these issues because I pushed instead of allowed.
mm. So, what made you decide I probably need to be leaning into a little more of the allowing this time?
Well, during the process, I lost my connection to my angel guides because I was really in survival mode.
Mm,
And that scared me because whether I was acknowledging them or not in my 20s and 30s, I knew they were there. And then, through my 40s, 50s, I was deeply connected to them. So to not be able to sense them, I stopped dreaming. I felt very lost. And I knew that I needed to let go of things. I needed to start taking care of me and making myself a priority. That's another one of the challenges that I've had in my lifetime is putting everybody else first, putting my business first, volunteering for other things, whether it's whatever it is. It wasn't me. I wasn't taking really deeply taking care of me.
right. Right. Yeah, I think, we get to the point where we either need to choose to allow or we're going to be forced to allow.
Right.
um it's we need to do or and I always say I tend to be more of on the stubborn side. I really need the brick to the forehead. I need to be forced in order to do things sometimes. But that moment when you do disconnect, and I've been there myself, where you have this connection to spirit, whatever that looks like, and then it's just sort of you, you become where you have to shift your priorities almost when your body isn't behaving nicely. And so it becomes difficult, and it was scary. Like it's scary to just lose that connection completely. at what point did you get to where you started working on that connection?
So it started coming back as I released things, as I started receiving help. When you're a doer, it's not always easy to allow others to do for you. So I was hospitalized the first time in May and kind of bounced back and continued doing stuff. you know, uh, the hospitalization in June, I came home and a cousin of mine drove 6 hours to stay with me. Actually, when I was in the hospital, she cared for my animals, and I allowed that. I mean, she had offered before, I didn't allow it. So starting to allow people to take care of me and admitting that I really can't do this. I can't do this right now. I need to accept help. That started making a difference. I had another friend who came to visit me from Massachusetts, and she's like, I am coming. I am taking care of you for a week. You are going to sit on the couch or sit out in the backyard, and you're going to tell me what you want me to do. I mean, she repotted plants. She, things that bring me joy. Nature and my plants bring me so much joy, but I didn't have the energy to do things like that. And in that allowing, in that receiving, I started feeling the connection again. It was really powerful. And in parallel with that, I'd reached out to my office manager and I said, you already know how to do all this stuff, but you haven't really stepped in. Will you do that for me while I'm so sick? And she said, yeah, no problem. She just stepped in as if she'd been doing some of the background things forever. And I was able to conserve my energy. I let go of 3 volunteer jobs.
Wow.
One of them that I liked, and 2 of them I did out of obligation. I think
Yeah.
that's the best way to describe it. And, because I had made a commitment, I like to honor my word. But releasing that, it just took so much off of me. And then I could feel what's my next right step? What do I need to do? And I could really lean into healing me. And that's what it's been. I'm probably 50% of where I was a couple of years ago,
Mhm.
but I'm getting more done because I
Yeah.
don't have all of that heavy obligation energy and the shoulda, woulda, coulda stuff going on. The
Yes.
big gift from this, one of them has been just, focus on you. We're going to take
Mhm.
care of the rest, Carolyn.
Yeah. There's a lot of that should kind of energy that goes around, and it's a topic that I feel like I'm constantly up against on these shows, and in the work that I do. It keeps coming up over and over and over again because, as you know, in the coaching space, there's a lot of this is how things have to be done, or this is the formula that's gonna change and I'm just so against that at this point in my life, because if we are all different people, then how can we expect that our businesses aren't different, or that how we do things aren't different? And so I'm so glad that you're leaning into that space of doing because you want to, and not because you feel like you have to, or there's some like that obligation
Mhm.
or that should there. It also sounded like with the allowing, would you say at all that there was any element of self-love that had to happen in order to allow yourself to accept what maybe you deserve?
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, absolutely. I had been trained from a very young age to take care of everybody else, like a lot of other people. You put family first, you support others. And I had done a lot of healing work and continue. It's one of my weekly topics, I guess, in my journaling. But I did have to step into I deserve this, which is an aspect of what you were talking about. I deserve to be healthy. I deserve to feel good. I deserve to have people help me. I deserve to have all of these people calling me. I deserve to have people making me meals. It's like all of those things that I've never experienced before because I had done it myself. I'd pushed through and I wasn't transparent. In the past, when I was struggling, I didn't ask for help. I didn't tell people I didn't feel good. I just pretended
Yeah.
and muscled my way through it.
Yeah. And it's hard because I think too, and I've spoken about this recently because I too had health issues from the time that I was very young, and so I became sort of um, I don't want to like almost known for that, and I could kind of feel, when something else I got really good at just pretending like nothing was wrong
Mhm.
because if you start to express it, you can feel people's energy shift sometime like, "Oh, here she goes again." Like, guess she's sick again kind of, and it's not a nice feeling
Yeah.
to experience. And so recently what I was sharing is that it when I lean into doing what brings me joy, I feel better. So this whole last week and a half that I've been sick, I've still worked through the whole thing. Now I've cultivated my life in a way that I can take my laptop and I can bring it in bed and get under my covers and do the things that I need to do.
Yeah.
But I think there's such a push right now for like self-care, take care of yourself, that it almost has become a little bit toxic in a way because when I mention, hey, I'm still going to get my stuff done that I want to get done because it brings me joy, not because I have to or because I'm
Right.
obligated, but because it brings me joy and it makes me feel good and it helps me push through my healing and get to the other side of things. And people will be like, "Well, you should be sleeping, you should be resting, you should be taking care of myself," assuming that I'm not by doing something that brings me joy. And so I I'd love for us as supporters to be able to, when someone is down or having a hard time, being able to be like, how can I help? Like
Mm.
asking questions instead of you should be doing all of these things. Is there anything that you have needed in your healing or anything that you would have wanted people to know as you've been healing?
Yeah, one of the things that I guess I wish I would have done is reach out in a broader way.
Mm,
I'm a public figure. I've got a,
yeah,
a fairly large following and presence, and I went dark. Now, in the beginning, I needed to go dark because I didn't even have the energy, like I said, to clean out my cat litter box. So
mm,
it was self survival.
right,
But as I started to feel better, as I started to really understand things, um, I believe that it would have been better for me to acknowledge what was going on and get that love and prayers that people
right,
do automatically because they do care, and to also let people who I'm connected with, who I may not be deeply connected with, know what's going on with me. Why did I need to pull back? And I think I took the I need to take care of myself a little bit too deep by withdrawing
mm,
completely, whether that rather than withdrawing almost completely. I guess I don't know how to
yeah,
describe
yeah,
it,
yeah,
but it's like I could have posted once a month. I could have done something and just said, "Hey, this is where I'm going. I'm having this going on. Appreciate your support. I'll be back when I feel better." And again, hindsight is always so much more crystal clear, and I can see how
yeah.
that would have benefited me as
Right,
well as other people. So
right.
I would say that's the one thing that I would have liked to have done differently, and I can understand it better now.
Right. And I love that you said that it benefits you because I think that's such a big key when we talk about communicating with other people. And so, as we talk about relationships today, it's not, I wish sometimes we were just in a relationship with our things, but we are a relationship with other people. Right.
Right,
And
right.
so, the importance of communication in that, we can easily slip into a place where we say, well, other people shouldn't expect things from us and we shouldn't need to check in and everything else. But really, when we do that, that creates a space of peace for us too. Because if we communicate, hey, I'm stepping back a little bit, even if we don't say why for whatever reason, but if we communicate that, we're not having people hound us and disturb our peace every 5 minutes. So it's not just about other people. It really
Mhm.
is allowing that space of peace for us too.
Yeah, it is, and, I've got, a very healthy inner critic who shows up, especially when I don't feel when
I
I don't
know
feel
her.
great. She's got quite a loud voice, and, I was getting a lot of "you shoulds" from myself in this little aspect of myself, and it would have helped in my healing if I had soothed that little voice and like you said, I didn't have because I didn't know what was going on. And I think that was part of it is that, I don't like sharing half information. So I talked
Right,
myself out of any information. And I do, my energy tends to be all or nothing. There's not a whole, it's like it's the truth.
yeah,
And I did start sharing with some small groups. I do my own talk show twice a month, and I continued with that, and I shared with that audience
yeah,
what was going on with me. And I have in my group that is listed down in the show notes, I did start talking about it there because every other week we would do just an informal chat and conversation. So
right,
I shared there, but I didn't share it broader. And like I said, hindsight, I know that it would have been beneficial for me. So
right,
I
right.
invite everybody out there to ask for help. It's
Yes.
really pretty amazing.
Yes, absolutely. We're going to take one more super quick break and listen to Dorothy Auger read the For Love poem. We're going to come back and get Carolyn's final words on the relationship of allowing, and also tell you about a goodie that she has for you, as well as where you can find her and all of that good stuff. So we'll be right back after this. Don't go anywhere.
I shall stand for love, even with a broken soul, even with a heavy heart. I shall stand for love, for the world is wounded, not just my little piece of land, where I am mostly safe, where I am mostly well, but our world, everywhere, every day. I shall stand for love, because we need more light, not more death, not more power, not more bombs. I shall stand for love, so that our children are safe, so that our friends are sheltered, so that our borders are open. I shall stand for love, even with a broken soul, even with a heavy heart.
Welcome back to the Breakthrough Show, and thank you to everyone for standing for love with us here on the Breakthrough Show Network. Please visit we-shall-stand-for-love.world and see all of the different versions, over 70 versions of the For Love poem, and find it in your language. And thank you to my dear friend Dorothy for the legacy that she leaves us here. I'm back now with the incredible Carolyn McGee. What final words do you have for us? Words of wisdom about how we can maybe better reside in that space of allowing.
The first thing that I want to say is to really trust yourself. We are so wise, whether it's your intuition that you're trusting, it's just your body itself you're trusting, your logic you're trusting, your friends. Just believe in you. You do know the answer. You do have the ability to make good choices. You do know the right answers. You know the divine timing. And once you start following that guidance, following that little voice or nudge, however it shows up for you in your body, your life would become so much easier. And I promise you that it's safe to do that.
I love that. I love that. And I love that you finished it with that it's safe to do that, because I think sometimes, especially when we start learning about how we are more in touch with our intuition, or if that word doesn't make you comfortable, just in touch with yourself. Some of the things we experience can be a little scary. It can be a little like, what is happening? I don't understand this. And awareness is a great thing, but it's also an unknown. It's a new thing. It's a new place. And so I love that you're sharing it in a way that it is a safe thing for people to tap into and experience. And I hope you guys take what Carolyn said to heart today for sure. I appreciate your vulnerability in sharing your story. It's hard. It's hard. It's a challenge to be in a space where you're independent, and now all of a sudden you have to depend on other people, and you better, or you're going to be in big trouble.
Mhm.
um
Yeah.
and so I appreciate you sharing that story today, Carolyn.
Thank you. Yeah, it is my next stage of my journey is to really, and that's another beautiful gift that came out of this is that I've, kind of pivoted where my work is going and, helping people through some type of a trauma and regain their connection with their intuition so they can have these beautiful relationships with everything around them. It just feels so good to me. It's like it's settled very deep in my core and my soul. So there's another little gift in
Yeah.
following your intuition and allowing, even illness can be a relationship.
Yeah.
It's a different way of looking at things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And speaking of amazing gifts, if they go to carolynmcgee.com/soul-clarity-gift, it's down in the show notes, also scrolling on the screen, also in the comments. What can they find when they go there, Carolyn?
So it's a 3-part series. There is a very short meditation just to help you connect into your intuition. There is a daily checklist of things that you can do to help open up your intuition. And there are 17 journaling prompts to help you work deeper into your intuition.
I love that because we talked about that today, everybody, too. Journaling is a good thing.
Hmm.
And so I love that. I love that. Thank you for offering that for our audience today. I love it. I love it. And thank you so much, Carolyn, again for being here today. Like I said, we've been working on this for quite some time, and I'm so glad that it happened when it did, because I feel like even looking back, like you said, hindsight, right? Looking back at both of our journeys, this is like perfect timing, perfect timing for this to come together. And I'm so thankful that you've been here to share with us today.
Thank you. Yeah, it's my pleasure. I really enjoyed this and do trust completely in divine timing and that the right people will hear something that's going to make their life and their journey easier.
Absolutely, absolutely, Carolyn. Thank you so much for being here today.
You're
Appreciate you.
welcome. Thank you.
Everybody else, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate you. As we bring this episode to a close, I'm reminded of the profound impact that just allowing can have in our lives. Thank you to Carolyn for being here today. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and guiding us through the concept of allowing with such clarity and compassion. Your insights are a beacon for anyone seeking to navigate life's waters with trust, grace, and of course, intuition. The journey of allowing teaches us that even in the midst of uncertainty, there is a powerful force within us ready to embrace each moment as it comes. It's in this relationship of allowing that we find the strength to face our most intense breakthrough moments, understanding that every challenge, every joy, every tear, every laugh is part of the beautiful tapestry that is our lives. Thank you to all of you for being here today. I appreciate you. And speaking of amazing transformation, I don't want you to miss our next week's episode. A Time for Transformation will be welcoming the return of the incredible Christy Mattoon. It promises to be a conversation filled with insights and strategies for personal evolution and, of course, breakthroughs. Thank you so much for joining us on the Breakthrough Show today. I'm your host, Jessica Dugas, and I want to remind you that every day is a great day for a breakthrough. And we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.